how are we going to bring people into our circle, right? I think a lot of people said, oh, we're just going to post a few Facebook ads and we're going to have a high profit
Social proof.
product. And so we look at the social proof. Testimonials are a big deal,
Yes.
I think,
Yep.
right? And how are you outreaching? How are you finding people to network with?
They're,
You just getting on the
you know,
phone, like obviously now in the days of coronavirus, you can't just go start knocking on doors and showing up at businesses. So how are you finding people?
they're finding me, dude. It's
Okay.
really I mean, I wish I could describe it. And it's also strategic deals like with Shay and people that have authority already that say, hey, listen, I did it. You need to do it.
Yeah.
So doing that, I'm working on my second book. I'm almost done with it. Podcasts suck, if you don't know what you're doing. So I'm excited about that because when you write a book, it's not about selling books. Your book becomes your new business card, and your book becomes another piece of social proof, and you're automatically looked at as an authority and expert.
Well, and podcasts work the same way. Like you said, people start coming to you. I probably get 1 to 2 to 3 messages a week of people that want to hire me for something. Quite frankly, I turn down almost everyone, or I'll give them a price that's really high because, like you said earlier in our conversation, you can't get bogged down with all that service stuff, right? You got to say if
Sure.
my time is incredibly valuable. But
Yep.
I want to talk a little bit to all the business owners out there that don't have a podcast yet, right? They maybe say, I don't know if this is for me. Does this really work? Nobody actually listens to this stuff. Why should every single business owner have some sort of podcast experience for their clients and fans?
So if I called you 25 years ago and I said, hey, Mark, I have an opportunity for your dry cleaning business to have a radio show, what would you say to me?
I'd probably
A
say I
radio
listen to
show.
radio every morning on the way to work. That sounds
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. Very interesting. So let's have a conversation. You're not going to tell me nobody listens to the radio. This isn't going to be of a benefit. There's no audience there. You're not going to tell me that. Now, in the midst of all of this, the people that are the closest to me, my attorney, my best friend, my people, family, people in my circle have told me that without a shadow of a doubt, I am 100% out of my tree and completely delusional to the fact that podcasting is even something and is going anywhere. So, in addition to selling something where there's yet again, here I am again, it's round 2 of learning curve of what is a podcast again?
Right.
Just like I was in the beginning, but it's okay. I'm well primed now because if I made it through the, hey, look at me over here, Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, to where we're at with present day, the bottom line is podcasting is replacing radio, traditional radio as we know it. No one is excited or is anticipating running to their car to turn on an FM dial to hear the same song played over again with your less than favorite DJ talking over the music. And then right after the song that's played 100 times is yet another ad from Don Mealy Chevrolet that no one cares about. No one has listened to an ad on the radio and said, you know what, it's time for a new car. Unless, of course, you're sitting on the side of 95 and your car's broken down. But podcasting provides, there's less frictionless. It's a less frictionless experience. And when you look at where streaming and podcasting is coming together, I mean, if you haven't noticed that Spotify is absolutely playing Pac-Man in the marketplace to put their stake in the ground and go, listen, we are the leading source for podcasting and anything streaming music, right? I believe eventually you'll be able to have one turnkey solution that allows you to stream your movies, your music, and your podcast all in one spot. We've got a device that does that through 3 different apps, but they're close to where it's at. But we're living in, Gary talks about this a lot, we're living in this audio era. If you don't believe me, just go ask Alexa to do something for you, right?
Yeah, well, I
It's
mean,
crazy.
every time I sit in my car, it's exactly the same experience you're talking about, Sebastian. I'm either turning on my Spotify app to listen to a podcast I listen to, or maybe
Yep.
I put on YouTube and I just listen to a podcast style YouTube show while I'm sitting in my car. It's just so much more efficient. It's so much more catered, so much more specialized. Like you said, I don't need to listen to a random ad about some product or service that I really don't care about. If the host is doing it right, I am listening to ads, the ads are specifically catered to something that is going to help me improve my life.
For
You
sure.
really hit on a key point there, Sebastian.
Rogan goes for 10 minutes with ads before the episode even starts. I mean, again, it's Rogan, so I don't suggest doing that.
Well, and
But
they're interesting too because he puts his own
there.
spin on the ad because he knows
Right.
what his listeners want, right?
Sure.
It,
Sure.
it's incredibly powerful. I do find it somewhat interesting though when I speak to older generations and they say, "Hey, Mark, I caught your your video podcast and they just saw like a quick little 2-minute live video. So I think there is still somewhat of a disconnect in what
Yeah,
exactly a podcast is, but
sure.
with every single day that goes by, people are going to get it. It's like this wave is happening and people don't fully understand or comprehend it. Have you ever run into that where you're speaking to a business owner, you're like, listen, you need to have a podcast. It's a direct link. You're able to establish yourself as an expert in the marketplace. And have you had to
Yeah,
overcome those objections with people to kind of help you like shake them by the neck and say, listen, you got to take this seriously?
no, no. Gary told me a long time ago to never pay any attention to the naysayers and the people that are doubting where we're at with all of this. He's famously quoted probably 10 years ago that social media is overthrowing governments in the Middle East. Do you really have the audacity to think it's not affecting your business? And there's never been more. I put it on my email signature. It was such a great. I told him that's absolute gold, and it's so true too. Because I don't care who you are, you can't argue with that statement. You just can't argue with where we're at with all of this. And it's been around for 17 years now. It's not going anywhere. Podcasting, almost 2002, it came out. It started becoming popular in 2008. Now there's only a million podcast episodes in existence right now only. But let's use some comparison for a second. If we look at YouTube, which by the way, I've been going all in with for the past 18 months, youtube.com/podcast launch lab. And YouTube has 15 million creators on it. So 15 million creators, 1 million podcasts. And we don't even know if all those podcasts are active.
Right.
Statistics would tell us that the average podcast doesn't make it past the 6th episode before it makes its way to the podcast graveyard. So I think there's going to be a lot of start-stop process. But as far as business owners understanding why they need to start a podcast, why would you want to start a radio show 25 years ago? Well, I could gain exposure. I'm introduced to a new audience. I've got the ability to market my product or business to this existing audience that's clearly bigger than my community. So think about that in the perspective of modern day, which is what does it look like to record a podcast episode? Well, what's that going to allow me to do? Well, if I create a podcast episode and I start to build a community around that, which are my customers, my clients, or new people that listen to the content, I'm becoming an authority because, it just for perception, it's like, first of all, well, that's cool. I had no idea that an insurance company would have a podcast, let alone a podcast studio. They got some and they talk
Sure.
about things that have nothing to do with insurance. It's
Sure.
so neat, as my mom would say. And they're also becoming a media company, right? So what does it look like once you've built that community, you've built the show out, and you are an insurance company, and you've got another local business that wants to sponsor your show, and then you've monetized your podcast, and now you literally have become a media company. So your podcast pays for itself and is a revenue generator way outside any of the insurance premiums that you collect. So I think it's about becoming a media company and also archiving your life and your brand, rather, and your business. So people see that, they look back and they, instead of saying, go see my crappy website, it's like, hey, go check out our YouTube channel and see what we've been up to for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
We got a podcast, we got a YouTube channel. That's social proof right there. I think that in conjunction with people saying great things about you via testimonials is a win-win.
Well, and I think that the coronavirus outbreak has really brought a lot of these problems right to the head, right in front of us, because there's
Yep.
all these problems that in these changes that we expected to be happening over the course of the next 5 to 10 years, and all of a sudden it's here now. We've got parents and teachers teaching from school. You've got all these restaurants shut down. Gym owners are trying to figure out online video content. So you got to start now. I feel really scared for a lot of business owners out there that don't fully adapt, or at least start developing new sources of income, alternative ways of meeting and linking up with clients. So I think that you're doing really great work over there at the Podcast Launch Lab, helping people launch on iTunes.
Yeah.
And
Yep, man.
use what you're
It's
doing.
right. Now's the time to do it though. And a
Yes.
lot of people got caught with their pants down when COVID hit.
Yeah.
It was like, oh
And it's
man, I
not too
guess I
late.
could.
It's not too late, right? Like,
Definitely not to. But now's the time to recognize that you didn't build the community online when you were forced to be closed and couldn't communicate. Now you have nothing online. Now's the time to figure something out. So in the event something crazy happens again, which it will, in some form or fashion, it's always good to just be prepared and realize, wait a second, I can connect with people offline and online. Why would you make it difficult? I mean, there's still people that, I had a meal delivery company running ads on Instagram, and I went to go to their website, and it brought me to WhatsApp. And I'm like, what is this? I'm like, do you guys have a menu? They sent me a picture of the menu, and they go, you can order here.
Yeah,
I go, where? Like right here in the DMs. And I'm like, it's 2020, right?
it's just not that hard. It just, honestly, to me, it shows a lack of effort, a lack of initiative, because it's not that hard. It takes a little bit of effort, but it's not that hard to set up some forms on a website that's clean, that's mobile
Sure.
friendly. And honestly, it's like you said before, systems. You got to put systems in place. So Sebastian, before I let you go, I just want to remind everyone, check out Sebastian at the Podcast Launch Lab. If you're in South Florida, he's got a great physical facility that you can visit. But I want to get into a couple quick rapid fire questions here for you, Sebastian, real fast. All right. So, first question would be, what is a must have business item for less than $25? What could you not do without?
I would say for 25 bucks. Gosh, man, that's like real-time Jeopardy. God, I'm buying gadgets. I'm a gadget. I mean, this whole studio is laced out with every gadget on the planet. I would say I'm looking at it right here. My nifty iPad tripod right here. It bends and whatnot. These are like 15 bucks. And I got sports are starting again. So instead of, trying to keep myself in the studio and productive here, I got a little TV going on here. But yeah, I think that would be for 25 bucks. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do a lot of stuff with a tripod. I'm with you there. If you woke up in the morning and there was only one business related task you could do for the day, what would you do?
Help people discover their why.
Okay, dig it. And last but not least, if you had a billboard message that could reach millions and millions of people, what do you put on your billboard, Sebastian?
Podcasts suck if you don't have one. Podcastlaunchlab.com.
Love it. Sebastian, thank you so much for your time, brother. Thanks for spreading knowledge.
No, it's my pleasure, dude. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm glad you enjoyed this episode. I've got several other episodes right here for you. Smash one of these videos to make sure that you don't miss out on the tips, tools, and tactics of industry experts. Let's take that side hustle full time. Smash one of these links.